Kevin out here in Hilo. I want to continue this conversation on expectations. This is a really good topic that comes up a lot in my therapy practice. Really curious on what a lot of my populations that I work with, what are they expecting? Sometimes this is a good question to ask when we're trying to manage anxiety and depression and we're a little frustrated. What are we expecting? What are some of the predictions or assumptions? Expectations are directly tied to assumptions. This is very much relevant in regards to men's mental health and the regulation of anxiety and depression, really paying attention to repeated patterns of our history that we're predicting that's going to reoccur. So it says here, expectations are mental assumptions or beliefs about how situations, people, or events should unfold. It's windy out here. Sorry about that, guys. It's a little storm. I got this tripod here, so it's all good. Expectations are mental assumptions or beliefs about how situations, people, or events should unfold. They act like internal scripts written by our mind based on what we've seen, felt, or imagined before. So if a person is coming out of trauma or any sort of negative past experience, attachment injuries, childhood attachment injuries, it's really important for this individual to ask themselves, how has this impacted their expectations? How has it impacted what they expect of themselves, what they expect of others, what they expect of the world? Assumptions in a lot of ways are just synonymous for expectations, predictions, how we believe things will unfold. In a way, expectations are a form of like fortune telling, which is also a distortion in psychology, because a lot of times when we are predicting, we're predicting based off of our assumptions of how things should go. So it's really important to pay attention to that. Let me close this door. The wind is just all over the place today. Let me close this door. I'm out here fighting against the elements, guys, just to get you guys some good quality content. We got the the wind blowing the phone down, the wind blowing the door open. You know, hello, good to see you. Yeah, I was just closing my house door. So expectations are not just desires, they're forecasts. I expect you to treat me this way, or this should happen. The reason why people get really discouraged and upset in their relationship is because there's an expectation or a prediction or a should. In psychology, we say don't should on yourself. So there's like a should that's not being met. You should be treating me better. You should be loving me in a way that I need to be loved. You should be faithful. You should be loyal. You should be texting me back, right? In these relationships, it says expectations can be conscious. I expect to get a raise, or unconscious. They should just know how I feel. You see this a lot in relationships where partners believe the other partner should just know how they feel. If you've been in a relationship for 5 years, 4 years, even a year, it's not uncommon for some couples to kind of get to this stage where they're like, hey, you should kind of know what's going on, what I'm feeling, and what I'm needing. You know, when I reach out to you, if I'm busy at work and I don't have a whole lot of time, kind of be by your phone, right? If I'm reaching out to you and I'm at work and I'm busy, you know, I don't have a lot of time, and then you're just sitting around with the phone in the living room and you're out with the boys or you're out with your girls, people get really discouraged because they're like, man, you should know this already. You should already know. But you'll be surprised, human beings don't know. It's just a very interesting psychology where should people know? What's the time frame or the milestone in a relationship where a partner should just know what the other partner needs, knows what the other partner expects? That's a really, interesting question to ask. Why expectations matter. Expectations set the emotional tone for how we experience life. When expectations are met, they bring satisfaction. When expectations are violated, they bring pain. They guide behavior and decision making. We plan, prepare, or avoid things based on what we expect to happen. They are at the heart of relationships, careers, faith, and identity. Expectations shape how we interpret success and failure. When expectations don't meet our reality, we often feel confused, betrayed, or unworthy. So when you're feeling not good enough, if you're feeling discouraged and you're feeling upset and the day just started, ask yourself, what was I expecting from this day at 7 o'clock in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning? What was I expecting of myself? What was I expecting of others? What am I expecting of my friends? Maybe you didn't get a text, maybe you didn't get a phone call from your girl. You just woke up, you're thinking, hey, I should hear from my lady, or she's waking up, hey, I should hear from my man, or sometimes they're like, we shouldn't hear from each other at all. Focus on your routine, focus on your own self-care. What is the expectation of the relationship? Really asking these questions as young men when you're starting off relationships and you're dating, what are going to be the expectations of us kind of moving forward? So the cost of unmet expectations, depression and anxiety. Depression often comes from past expectations not being met. I thought life would be different by now. Isn't that something? When we were kids, we thought growing up, why do you still need to make a good time? Augie Ademe, why did you still need to make a good time? I'm not sure about that question, but so it says expectations when we were younger of adult life. Everybody, I'm curious on what were you guys' expectations as a kid? When I was a kid, I was expecting that not necessarily life would be easy, but when you're working and you find a job that you're passionate about, I wasn't expecting the prices to increase. I wasn't expecting the cost of living to go up. Back in the day, cost of living was pretty affordable. Some people would say it's expensive compared to the generations before, but I was not expecting to get a nice, decent house. It would be $1 million, $500,000. People who had the correct expectations, they invested in real estate ahead of time. They invested into property when the housing market was reasonable. I think this is so important as parents, is to make sure our children have correct expectations. But sometimes it's really complicated because if you're not the dad, that's like with me, I wasn't, in my daughter, my oldest daughter, and my oldest son's life on a daily basis. I was like the weekend dad, the every once a few years dad. So I can't really influence their expectations as much as I would like because, and these younger people, their minds are so strong. They need a parent that's there every day to be credible. So depending on that dynamic, so you want to be the parent that is in your kid's life every single day. Ideally, you're in a relationship where you two respect each other and you can have a consistent relationship because that's so important on how you impact and shape the expectations of your children. Are they going to grow up expecting that life is always going to be easy and they don't have to work? They can just kind of get by playing video games, kind of sitting on their hands? Are they expecting that relationships aren't going to work? Family is not going to stay together? It's easy to kind of get rid of each other. Like what we do as parents and what we model as parents shape the expectations of our children, which ultimately shapes their behavior and what they predict. So it says here, anxiety often comes from future expectations that feel uncertain. What if things don't go the way I hope? The larger the gap between expectation and reality, the more intense the emotional pain. I'm going to say that again. The larger the gap between expectation and reality, the more intense the emotional pain. So if you're suffering, if we're expecting, you voted for a particular official, whether it be mayor or some sort of like political candidate, you were expecting that they were going to take care of your needs. You were expecting they were going to take care of the community. You were expecting that everybody was going to be happy and celebrating and things were going to be better. But then your vote maybe turned out where it was like, man, I didn't expect all these different, differences and divisions, and I wasn't expecting all of this. The expectations are so paramount, especially when it comes to voting, especially when it comes to picking a mate or a partner. What are you expecting of your partner? What are you are expecting of this interest as a man who you're attracted to? What are you expecting of yourself? You got to really ask yourself these questions. So it says, rigid expectations lead to perfectionism, chronic disappointment, and self-criticism. The perfectionist is just someone who has these really unrealistic expectations around performance, around what they're producing. I expect my work to be perfect, to be flawless. I expect to make minimal mistakes. And if I do make mistakes, I expect no one to be aware of them or to recognize them because I don't want to come off as incompetent. So, but the perfectionist needs to ask themselves, is the expectation of my performance and what I produce reasonable? Is it rational or is it irrational? That can help a lot with perfectionism. Example, A students expect straight A's. 1B will trigger a crisis of identity and worth. So where do expectations come from? Repetition of past experiences. If your father always yelled at you, you may expect others will yell at you too. Cultural norms, the media, religion, society set invisible rules about how life should look. Early caregivers, they wire your brain to expect either love, danger, rejection, or safety. Cognitive bias, our brains seek patterns, so we must assume that what has happened will keep happening. Survival mechanism, expectations help us predict and prepare, but they also cause pain when they're misaligned. Research and statistics on expectations. A Harvard study in 2015, people who set unrealistic expectations about relationships were 45% more likely to experience chronic dissatisfaction. Okay, I'm gonna say that again. People who set unrealistic expectations about their relationships, 45% more likely to experience chronic dissatisfaction. How many times do you see this in our world today where the people have these really unrealistic expectations? Social media. What is social media but a framed sort of orchestrated expectation? When you're looking at people's social media profiles, dating profiles, you already have sort of like an unconscious prediction or assumption of how you believe this person is. If the social media profile is dressed up nicely, they got a boat, maybe they have bikes and really nice put together, living conditions, you're expecting this person to be balling, right? That's all social media is a way to frame an expectation. It's a way that we can manipulate reality in a way where maybe the expectation that we frame on social media doesn't fully match who we are in real life. So that's why you have to be very you have to be very intentional and surgical about what you allow yourself to believe when you're looking at social media profiles, because it's nothing but just orchestrated expectation. So the American Psychological Association in 2021, cognitive behavioral therapy's effectiveness increases when clients learn to challenge unrealistic expectations. So even your therapy is a lot more effective. People who are in counseling and working on reducing symptoms, your therapy is more effective when you're able to address unrealistic expectations, okay? Neuroscience 2020, dopamine spikes not when we get a reward, but when the reward matches or exceeds expectations. All right. We talk a lot about dopamine and addiction and this reward drive, this reward sensitivity, but really the dopamine isn't just elicited or activated from the event, it's because the event exceeded an expectation. Okay. That is really the root of addiction. That's the root of a lot of these addictive behaviors and this reward sensitivity is people trying to find ways to exceed their expectations. A Gallup poll, 67% of employees report workplace stress due to unclear, unmet role expectations. Okay. National Institute of Mental Health, over 70% of people with generalized anxiety disorder report chronic fear of future expectations not being met. That's what anxiety is. People having really high expectations, high hopes about their future, about their relationships, about their career, about their finances, about society, about the culture, about the community. They have these really high assumptions. And when they're not met or they have fear that they won't get met, present day, that creates anxiety. Anxiety is just a symptom of an expectation or a future expectation potentially not being met. So we experience anxiety in the present moment because we're hoping for something, we're predicting something. And if it's a likelihood it's not going to get met, we get anxious, right? We get nervous. If I'm thinking, man, I hope I get paid, you know, after this holiday, I hope the holiday doesn't throw off the schedule of me getting paid because I have to pay rent, I have to pay my car notes, I have to pay these bills. But if we have fear that, man, maybe the payday will get pushed out a little bit more, right? Maybe I might not get that pay on time and it's going to affect my credit score, it's going to affect my ability to pay this bill. What happens? We get anxious. Or maybe we're expecting in the future, if I ask this my wife out, or if I propose to this lady I'm really attracted to, and I want her to be a wife, and if I'm predicting like, man, maybe she won't say, she'll say no. Maybe I still have to work on my finances. Maybe I have to work on my mental health, my emotional health. That's going to create anxiety. So when the potential for a future expectation is not could not be met, anxiety happens. Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, 2018, people who practice expectation flexibility had 23% lower depressive symptoms after breakups. Expectation flexibility. That's going to be the theme for today. Practice expectation flexibility. How to align your expectations with reality. Ask, is this expectation that I'm having fair, realistic, or kind? Separate preferences from entitlements. Wanting something is different from expecting it. Okay? A lot of times our expectations are a product of entitlement. I should be receiving this. I'm this person. I do this. I do that. I expect this from people. I expect this from life. Separate your preferences from entitlement. Wanting something is different from expecting it. Build emotional resilience. Life won't always meet your script, but you can write a new one. Reflect. What in my past taught me to expect this? Is that still true now? Communicate expectations clearly, especially in relationships. Silent expectations cause loud arguments. Okay, final reflection. Expectations are powerful, but they must be examined, adjusted, and sometimes released. Your peace comes not from just what happens, but from how you expected it to happen. Okay, when expectations are realistic and flexible, your emotional life becomes more stable. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of finish this conversation on expectations. This is another dimension of the psychology of being human. We are born into a world of people who have expectations. Our culture has expectations. Black people should be like this. You should be into hip hop. You should be speaking like this. You should be dressing like that. You know, this should be your tone. In Detroit, the expectation was you don't say soda, you say pop. You know, we don't say soda. You know, when you're saying you're going to the movies, you say you're going to the show. That's the expectation. So when you're going in there talking about I want some soda, and you're going in there talking about hey, let's go to the movies, people are kind of looking at you like, wait, what you talking about? You know, we're talking about the show. We're talking about pop. These real subtle expectations. As men, you're expected to lead. You're expected to provide and protect. You're expected to go out there and work. You're expected to go out there and hunt. You know, in some social circles, they'll say if you're interested in a love interest, you're expected to go approach that woman first, or you're expected to show some sort of indicators. It just depends on what space you're in, but each culture, each era of human history has shifting expectations, evolving expectations. We had expectations of what the president should be: put together, classy, right? Respectful, not a felon, right? Everybody has their different expectations. Now it's shifting. Now it's okay to be a president and come into the White House. Maybe you have a felony that was dropped, or maybe you had some charges. Now it's okay. That door has changed. But that wasn't the expectation before. It used to be each political party, Democrat, Republican, conservative, they all have their expectations of how society should function. Each religion has certain expectations. As a Christian, I'm expected to connect to the church community, connect to the body of Christ, read the scripture, actually implement God's word into my life, challenge unhelpful behaviors that are misaligned with God's word. That's the expectations. People's character are shaped by expectation. Expectation is sort of like that carver that creates character. So when you're meeting someone and you're seeing their behavior and you're really human beings, you guys are attentive. So I know you may not be watching now, but you will because you guys are attentive. And when you're seeing a person's character, when you're seeing a person, you're looking at how expectation has carved them. Character and expectation are sort of hand in hand. You can't separate character from the expectations that the person has of themselves or what their environment placed on them. So what you can take from this, young man, ask yourself when you're stressed out, you're depressed, maybe you're using substances, maybe you're smoking weed, you're drinking. I've been clean 8 months sober, so I'm sharp. Ask yourself, what am I expecting of myself when I smoke this joint? What am I expecting from this alcohol? Am I expecting the pain just to disappear? Am I expecting to numb out? Am I expecting the intensity of the suffering to go away, depending on how high I am? How much money am I expecting to pay on this? on this weed? How much money am I expecting to pay on this alcohol? How much money am I expecting to invest in this over the year? Ask yourself. When you don't ask yourself what the expectations are around your behavior and the rules of your life, suffering comes in, all right? Yeah, so I just wanted to break that down. We're out here in Hilo, it's raining. Glass is getting a little bit wet, but it's all good. We're still here tuned in. Sorry for that video yesterday by the water, Maku'u Point. It was signal was kind of weak, so I couldn't really go in like I want. You got to really pay attention to my expectations. I was expecting when I went out there, set up the camera on the beach. I got T-Mobile. They talk about they got all these satellites. So I was expecting, okay, it's gonna work, but reality didn't meet my expectations. So I was frustrated. I'm like, damn. You know, I'm went back to look at the video and the shit looking like I'm playing. Was it Minecraft? It was so scrambled. So I have to really, before you make any kind of serious decisions, what are my expectations? Today we're doing a play date with some friends that we met out here in Hawaii. It's raining. We was gonna do a barbecue today, but it's raining. So what am I expecting now with the conditions as they are? Okay, maybe we can do some pizza instead of doing a barbecue. Maybe we can shift. And if the rain, I'm expecting the rain to maybe slow down around 3 or 4 o'clock, but I'm also expecting that it might still continue raining because we're in Hilo. I expect in Hilo, there's going to be probably some ongoing rain throughout the course of the day, just depending on the conditions. So I'm expecting that I may have to shift my plans. I'm expecting that I may have to reorganize and redirect to just staying at home with the kids. So that way, when that time comes, around 3 or 4, when we start to kind of get together, if things don't work out, my stress is going to be lower because I've already sort of checked in with my expectations. Now, if I'm thinking, hey, it's going to be bright and sunny by 3 and 4, it's going to be nice, slip and slide weather. You know, we can get out, have a good time. The rain's going to be gone. I'm buying meat, getting seasoned, everything like that. If I'm thinking, hey, the rain's going to stop, we're going to be good to go. And then 3, 4 coming, it's still pouring. Guess what? I'm going to be pissed because my expectations wasn't matching reality. So the medicine that you can leave from this today, before you invest your emotional energy into sort of any activity, any dynamic, ask yourself, what are my expectations? What are my expectations? All right. So yeah, just out here living life. Today is going good so far. I don't have really any complaints. Just been kind of reflecting. My expectations around, my finances wasn't really put together straight. So I'm trying to do the budgeting and do things like that. That's the expectations I need to modify. What am I expecting of how I budget? What am I expecting of my spending, my expenditures, things like that. That's I have to reorganize that. So that's what my battle is, and what I'm working on is readjusting my expectations for my finances, because that creates stress for me. Outside of that, everything is straight. I can't really complain. But anywhere you see a pocket of stress in your life, fellas, ask yourself what expectation is rigid that could be modified. I was going to check out the Superman. I was expecting Superman to be popping. I was kind of expecting it not to be as good as certain Superman movies that I've seen. I've never seen it, but these are just based off of my past experiences. Again, your expectations are based off your past. My son hit me up. He was like, hey, this is sort of like what's going on with this Superman movie that helped modify my expectations. Information that you receive present day is an expectation modifier. So I was like, okay, now I'm expecting something different, from the movie. People are putting out reviews on Superman. I'm trying not to really look at it because I want to actually see the movie. But I know if I look at a review, it's going to shape my expectations. Sometimes when you get too much information about something you really want to do and you haven't did it yet, it can lower your expectations. And when low expectations come in, low motivation comes in. You're just kind of like, well, shit, the movie sounds like it's trash. It doesn't really make sense spending a whole lot of money going to go see it. That's why sometimes people do surprise reviews. Some people do surprise showings, or they try to keep the conversation down around certain like album releases. Sometimes people won't even tell you about your album, because their album or their particular performance, because they don't want people to develop these expectations. Human beings are expectation carvers. As soon as they get word of something coming out, they're giving you all the information. They're like, oh, you gotta be real careful what you tell a human, Because as soon as you tell them about some shit that's coming out or something that and what human beings do, they automatically connect that shit to their past, man. Hey, it's this new movie coming out. Hey, it's this. That's what I'm saying. There's no idea original. Because it's like you tell people, hey, man, this new shoe is coming out. This new meal is coming out. This new, anything you say new, human beings' mind go automatically to some past shit. Oh, man, I already ate that shit. It ain't all that. Oh, man, I already didn't seen that. It's all right. That's why we can be so negative, because we connect so much novelty and things that could be good to what's already happened. Hey, man, you got to go check out this new Superman. Oh, it ain't as good as the old one. Hey, man, you got to go check out this new pair of kicks. Oh, man, the other kicks are better. Hey, man, you should go check out this area, this park, man. This pop, this roller. Oh, it ain't better than the other roller coaster, you know? So some people, the mark these different companies, they done learned you guys. So they're like, you know what? People going to always compare what they have now to yesterday, and it's going to dampen it. So we're not going to even tell anybody about this album release till the day of, till a couple of days before. We're not even going to release, and they try as hard as they can to not even reveal any information. People are so desperate to, you know, human beings, not all, but just certain human beings are so desperate to carve out an expectation. You know, that's why you get these leaks and oh, this leaked. Oh man, some scenes from the Avengers Doomsday leaked. And what are people doing? They're already kind of giving you their expectations. The damn movie haven't even got finished filming. They're already, people are so desperate to establish an expectation of something. They'll leak your shit. They'll go, the film crew and the people on the acting crew, they're supposed to be keeping stuff confidential. People got to create contracts. Listen, keep the script confidential. Keep the work that's going on confidential. What they go do? You got people recording the damn movie behind the scenes. They're sending off, hey man, go ahead and create this expectation. Hey, this is what I'm this is what's gonna happen. This is what, man, shit. It's better to have a private, happy life than to be public and just thrown out there in a world of just unhealthy expectation. It really is. So it's about your expectations of yourself, fellas. It's about what you think about yourself, your greatness moving forward. What other people expect from you, that's the 10%. The 90% is about what you think about yourself, all right? If you get anything from this. So I just want to talk about that today. The power of expectations, the power of really having healthy expectations for yourself. Expect yourself to be great. Expect yourself to be healthy. Expect yourself to eat right, to treat people with respect, to treat people nicely and kindly. Expect that some people are not going to give you back what you give out, because that's just the world that we live in. They have a choice to decide what they do, but expect that you can set boundaries for yourself, and expect other people can set boundaries for themselves as well. So that was it. I'm not going to talk you guys to death. Just want to kind of break down this theme of expectations. What are you expecting? What others are expecting? All right. Hope you guys are healthy, having a blessed day out here in Hawaii. I haven't been doing a lot of sort of like scripted videos. I'm expecting myself just to kind of chill and enjoy the trip and not do too much YouTube, but hoping that I'm expecting you guys to have a blessed day, but I'm also expecting that maybe sometimes you may not have a blessed day, but I'm hoping that it does for you. All right. So good talking to you guys. Have a blessed